I want you to imagine that you're never, ever, ever, ever again going to be able to say the 3 words, I love you. Just picture that. Picture it. You're never, ever again going to be able to say the words, I love you. If those words were taken away from you, so somebody came along and said, never again are you going to be able to tell your partner or your child or your parents or anybody in your life, you're never going to be able to say the words, I love you. Picture what that would be like for you. And my question to you is, if those 3 words were stripped away and you were never ever again able to say, I love you to your partner, to your child, to your friends, to your parents, what are your current actions saying? So take those 3 words away. From now on, pretend you're never able to say, I love you ever again. What's your body language saying? And what are your actions saying? And the reason that I bring this up today is because I believe that we are way too reliant on the words, I love you. Now, we love hearing it. I love hearing somebody say to me, I love you. I love you, Jen. But you see, I've realised in the last few years that those 3 words alone are absolutely useless. Useless. Because we say I love you, and then 10 minutes later, we're slamming a door, we're not appreciating our partner, we're shouting at our child, and we are saying, I don't love you in that moment. So can you see how the 3 words I love you are really useless on their own if they're not backed up by action? So my question that I want to pose today is, if those 3 words were taken away from you and you could never ever again say I love you to your child, like just visualise that. You're never going to be able to say those 3 words again to your son or daughter. Are you saying I love you through the way that you speak to them, through the way that you interact with them, through the way that your body language is, like how you're being around them? Is the words I love you seeping out of your body and your energy and your mind anyway? Or is it a different picture? Are you relying on I love you, but you're actually saying a completely different message through the way that you interact with your kids? Give me feedback. Let me know if this is like, I've never thought about this before. Or let me know if this is an aha moment for you, or this brings something up for you. Feedback to me. I'd love to know what this brings up for you. Because I know that this is really important, because we throw the words I love you around like they're gold, and they're absolutely useless on their own. When we say I love you through the way that we get angry at kids, through the way that we are angry at our partner, we don't appreciate the things that they do, we're just constantly looking for the negatives. We're constantly projecting I don't love you onto other people all the time. So feedback to me, let me know if this brings up something for you today. So I want to talk today about how we can say I love you without never saying the 3 words I love you. I use I love you to make up for my behaviour. Wow, good for you for owning that. We all do this. So you're saying that you're possibly shouting, you're possibly just not listening. These are things that we all do with our partners and our children. You're constantly checking out, maybe emotionally. And then at the end of the day, it's really easy, isn't it, to whip the 3 little words out of our pocket and say, I love you to somebody. And all day long, they've heard the message, no, you don't. No, you don't, because in that, not that you're not doing your best, but what the message is, the child hears, is you don't love me. So it's not that we're constantly waking up every morning thinking, how can I say I don't love you to my child or my partner? It's just that we're not aware of how our words and our actions are coming across to the other person. So what the person on the receiving end does hear, guarantee this is what they hear, is you don't love me. When you shout at me, when you're angry, when you're not listening, I'm not feeling your love in that moment. And so then we're perplexed because we're like, well, why is my child acting this way? Or why is my partner checking out all of the time? Why are they not listening to me? Well, because let's take a look at how we're speaking to the other person. Let's be real. We are not speaking in a way that somebody would even want to listen to us. Yeah, good for you. My dad never said I love you. I think I use it more than others because of that. Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with the words I love you, but there is something wrong with it when we're just relying on the words. We're trying to almost keep a relationship together, whether it be with our partner or our child, by simply just relying on hearing the words I love you or saying the words I love you. And it turns out that the words on their own are absolutely useless. And I don't know how many people that you'll hear talk about this. This isn't a subject that many coaches would feel comfortable speaking about because it's going to press buttons. When I speak very directly like this, there will be people that this presses buttons for. And they're like, I don't want to hear this. This is just too much. But guys, this is too important not to speak about. Because every single day there is a child in this world that is feeling unheard, that isn't feeling connected with their parents, that is feeling anxious, that is feeling angry, that is feeling isolated and emotionally alone. And the sad thing is that the parent doesn't realise that it's actually, there's a lot that they could be doing differently to actually resolve the way that their own child feels. Does that make sense? So the things that we can be doing differently, we need to change the way that we approach a child. Now, if you have a highly sensitive child, stick around while I guide you with the information that I have on this account here, because I'm a highly sensitive adult. And I grew up as a highly sensitive child who had parents who didn't understand this stuff because they hadn't learnt it. I happened to have teachers that didn't understand emotions either. And because I was a highly sensitive child, I felt everybody's emotions. I felt my parents' stress. I felt my teacher's stress. And it created a lot of anxiety in me. And so fast forward into my adulthood, that really impacted my happiness. I struggled to live a happy life through my teens and 20s. Because of that baggage that I had from my childhood. I knew deep down that I never really felt that I was really listened to. I never really felt understood. And I grew up through my 20s and early 30s just feeling really lost in this world. Really lost, really just like there was something wrong with me. And I speak to women and mums almost daily, and all of the challenges that they have themselves stem from their own childhood. So we can change this. We can not only almost like reparent ourselves, but we can 100% then start to learn how to parent in a more effective way, because the world needs this. Your child needs this, and you need this. We have children walking around feeling angry and anxious, and guys, there is so much that you can be doing. We have to look at the fact that we're actually causing a lot of this. Again, this is something that some people won't want to hear, but we cause other people's suffering, especially if it's a child, when we're not speaking to them in an effective way, when we're not actually saying I love you through the way that we speak. Which is why I created my 10-part audio program, How to Speak to Your Highly Sensitive Child. without shouting, because everything that I put in there is the game changer between your child feeling like you don't understand them. And so they're going to go and sit in their bedroom and feel afraid and feel angry and slam doors and maybe get lost on their gaming, because you haven't yet learned how to have conversations with them in a way that they actually want to open up to you. And after this live, if you head to the link at the top of this page, click on the link and click on how to speak so your highly sensitive child listens without shouting. Scroll down to the first section and you'll read a little story about one of my clients who learned how to speak differently to her son. And what actually happened was he was having a tough time at school the year before, and he'd been struggling for about 3 or 4 months, and he was just angry all the time. And it wasn't until his mum learned how to speak differently to him and approach him in a different way that one day, as you'll read on that page, don't go now, I've got some more stuff to share with you, but head there after this finishes in the next 10 minutes, because you'll read how one day they were sat on the sofa and she spoke to him in a different way because she'd learned from me how to speak to him in an effective way so that he opens up to her. And he poured his heart out about how he'd been feeling the year before. So this is like 4 months before this time they're sat on the sofa. He poured his heart out to her about how he'd been feeling those 3 or 4 months at school. Now, had she not learned how to speak differently, he likely would have just bottled that all up and it was coming out as anger. And his mum and dad and his teachers were like, what's wrong with this kid? Why is he so angry? Nobody was looking at, wonder what I could do differently. I wonder if I could change my tone so that this little boy feels like he can actually open up to me. We need to look at how we're approaching things instead of looking at children and thinking, well, why are you so angry? Like, how can I help change your anger? No, we need to start taking more responsibility for the stuff that we're learning. And we need to look at how can I change how I'm speaking so that this child actually wants to open up to me, so that they actually feel like they can do. So let's look at a few things that I've got 5 things here, five ways that you can actually say I love you without saying the 3 words I love you. So my challenge to you this week is scrap the 3 words I love you. They're lovely, they're nice to hear, but on their own, they're a bit like, you know when you have an ice cream and you have a chocolate flake on the top? It's a bit like going to the ice cream man and you just get like the sprinkles on the top, but you don't get the full ice cream. That's a bit like how it is when somebody says, I love you. You're like, oh, that's really nice to hear. You know, I love hearing somebody tell me, I love you. Yeah, it's nice to hear. But there's this bit inside of you that's like, but something's missing. And maybe you feel like this in your relationship with your partner as well. Likely you've experienced this with somebody in your life, because I know I definitely have. It's a very common thing because most people don't actually know how to communicate love. They just rely on I love you way too heavily. So every child needs to feel these 3 things. So grab a pen. We're going to be here for about 10 minutes. And you're going to get so much more from this if you grab a pen and just take a few notes. Your child to feel happy, to feel calm, to feel happy, to feel not anxious, to not be angry all the time. He needs to feel seen. Write these 3 things down. He needs to feel seen by you. He needs to feel understood. Like when he says blah, 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 he needs to know that you know what blah, blah, blah means. It's really important. He needs to feel accepted by you. So when he says, I'm struggling with this, or I'm feeling really angry, He needs to know that he's not going to be judged by you, or that you're not going to try and fix him, okay? And he needs to feel heard by you. So he needs to have the space to even have the conversation with you, to feel like he can actually open up to you. So my first tip is, when your child is angry, or when he or she is shouting at you, or he's saying, you know, you've lost this thing of mine, or my brother took my favourite whatever from me, try and listen to what he or she is really saying. Because if we can remember that the main basic human need, aside from food, water and oxygen, is to feel unconditionally loved. Just to feel like you just accept me, warts and all. I don't need to please you. This is what my children's book talks about, Just As You Are. It's like, I need to feel like you just love me, full stop. That I don't need to prove anything to you, that I don't need to get things right. That's the basic human need that we all have. So the next time that your child is struggling with something, like if his brother takes something off him, or you've lost something of his, or whatever, and he says something like, he's crying and he's like, Sam took this thing away from me, it's not fair, I hate my life. Like, you know, I hear all of this of parents. If you're at home feeling like, is it just my child that says this stuff? No, it's not. I hear it all of the time. It's just kids feeling in pain, and words come out that they don't always mean, but they're just trying to say to you, I'm really struggling. Hey Laura, good to have you here. So the next time your child says blah, 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 I'm going to challenge you to ask yourself, what is he really saying? Is he really just bothered about the toy that his brother just took off him? Or is he actually saying, I didn't feel loved by my brother when he took my toy? Is he really saying, when you forgot to spend time with me, or when you didn't listen to me yesterday when I was trying to tell you about something, and you said, you know, okay, yeah, I'm busy, I'll come to you, which we all do these things, by the way, you know, when we're busy without thinking. Is he really bothered about the specific thing, or is he really upset because he didn't feel connected and didn't feel heard and he didn't feel accepted? So I'm going to challenge you this week to really look beyond what your child's saying, because I had an interesting conversation with a client of mine yesterday in Canada, and this is what we were talking about. When her son was saying XYZ, I said, what's he really saying? Because when we try to just fix the problem that we think a child has, we're missing the point. And this is a whole nother topic for another day. So the only thing that your child's ever really saying is, I don't feel seen, I don't feel accepted in this moment, I feel like I'm on my own, and I don't feel your love in this moment. So if you can practice remembering that every time your child is struggling with something, or saying he feels upset because he lost his pen, for example, I don't know if anyone would be upset about a pen, but it's practicing remembering it's not about the thing, what's going on underneath, okay? So my tip number 1 is listen to what your child is really saying. You can also apply this to your partner. What's your partner really saying? Everybody just needs to feel accepted, not judged, and listened to. Okay? So tip number 2 is I love you. So scrap the 3 words I love you. They're useless on their own. I love you is demonstrated by action. I love you sounds like I'm not judging you. Somebody write that down. Tell me in the comments if you've written that down, because that is so important to remember. We want to say to a child, I love you. But what we really need to be saying is through our behaviour. So I'm not recommending, say, I'm not judging you in words necessarily to your child. I'm saying our behaviour needs to say, I'm not judging you. I accept you. So in this moment, I'm not angry at you. Okay. Tip number 3 of how you can say I love you to your child without saying those 3 words. Oops, I just pulled this forwards. How can we show that? Great question. By not getting angry. By not resorting to anger so quickly and taking a deep breath and allowing your child to actually speak to you without saying things like, oh, don't be silly, or, you know, or like I've said in the past, I've shared this example many times. I used to care for a boy with autism within a school about 7 or 8 years ago, a long time ago. And one day he said to me, he was having a meltdown, he was struggling with something, and I said, you're okay, you're okay. I went into fix it mode. You're okay, you'll be okay. And he said, I'm not okay. He was like, Jen, you're not listening to me. I was like, you're okay. We were on different wavelengths. We weren't communicating. So how we show it is by not getting angry and by actually just really listening rather than going into fix it mode. Does that answer your question? How can we not judge somebody? By not trying to fix their problem, by not getting angry at them. Zero anger is the main thing, or practicing having zero anger, let's say. None of us are ever not going to be angry, but we can definitely work on it. Tip number 3 is helping your child name their feelings. So you can say to your child, so a way to say I love you without saying I love you would be eye contact. How many of us forget this? Eye contact. I can really see that you're feeling sad right now, or you're feeling really angry about this right now. I said something like this to a client of mine on a group call of ours about 3 weeks ago, and she burst into tears because, bear with me 1 second, I need a sip of water. Because she was going in circles. I'm feeling this, I just want to do this. And I paused and I said, you're feeling really angry right now. You are so angry right now. And she cried. Why did she cry? Because she felt seen. She felt understood by me. I understood what was really going on, and I went like that and went right in and said what was really happening. And she felt really understood by that. She felt accepted. She heard no anger. There was no judgment when I said, you're really angry right now. My tone was very soft. And she felt really heard. And she cried and she said, that's how I feel. And the best part of the work that I do here is teaching parents how to do that. How to do what I do with you on a call. I want to teach you how to do that with your kids. And this is what I actually do. Because when you can say to your child, you're really angry right now. I can see you're feeling really angry right now. I can't tell you how loved they will feel 100 times more than when you just flip out the 3 words, I love you. They mean nothing on their own. I love you, have a great day, love you. Like, how many of us say that? And it's kind of like, yeah, it's nice, but we don't want nice. We want real connection. The same way that I had with that lady when I said, you're feeling really angry right now. And she burst into tears. That's what we want. That's what I want in this world. That's what I want for my life. Do you want that in your life? I love you. Have a great day. See you tonight. I love you. It means nothing when we don't back it up with what really matters, which is helping somebody feel connected to us. So we can learn, if you don't know how your child feels, if this is like, well, Jen, I don't actually have a clue, like I'm not sure if I'm saying the right emotion, like if I say you're feeling angry and my son's probably going to say, no, I don't, or you don't understand me, well, that would be where you then need to learn more about emotions. Because I don't know about you, but I didn't get taught this at school. I'm 37. Nowhere on our curriculum as a kid was really anything about emotions. So I've gone off and studied this stuff and implemented it into life myself. And there's nothing stopping you doing the same. And I've got tools and resources to teach you that stuff. So there is no excuses not to learn this stuff. So we can say, I can see that you're feeling, I can see that you're feeling really angry. It helps a child feel really seen and loved by us. You could say to your son or daughter, what do you need from me right now? I can see that you're really struggling with something. What do you need right now? Now, your son or daughter might say, I don't know. Because you haven't learned how to, because you haven't learned this stuff for yourself, it's likely you've parented them in a way so far, if you haven't learned this stuff yet, that where they don't actually know how they feel because you've not had conversations yet. And that's okay. We all have to start somewhere. They might say, I don't know how I feel, because you just haven't yet had conversations about it. So when you say, what do you need from me? They might look at you blankly like, I don't know, because they don't yet know how to actually ask for what they actually need. You see, this is what happens. Children scream, they shout, they throw things, they slam doors, because they're trying to get your attention. And they're trying to say, Mum, Dad, help me. I feel like rubbish. I don't know what to do with these emotions. I feel hyped up. I feel afraid. And it all comes out. And they don't know. So that's the way that they try to get your attention. Now, what you can teach your child to do over time, this won't happen overnight. This is not a quick fix, guys. Somebody said to me the other day, this is lifelong learning. I'm not planning to stop learning because I keep getting things wrong as well, keep making mistakes with this stuff, and I keep improving. And that's the real thing that we're doing here. Where was I going with that? When you can teach your child how to ask you for what they actually emotionally need in a healthy way, you can end up with a child that comes up to you and learns to tap you on the shoulder and say, Mum, I need a hug. Or, Mum, can we go and spend 10 minutes in the garden together? I'm feeling worried. Mum, I have a tummy ache. I'm feeling worried. Your kids can get to that place where they can voice that. How exciting is that? Tap the hearts if you're thinking, because for me, I live for this. I think that's incredible. If we can help kids get to the place where they can simply voice how they feel in a simple way, and you can learn how to meet that need, that's where you're going to see the tension in your home drop. But when there's a lot of anger in the home, when there's a lot of meltdowns, it's because the child doesn't yet know how to voice this, and the adult hasn't learnt either because their parents never showed them. And the work that I do is I teach you so that you can start talking about your emotions, and then I teach you how to teach your child. And even just me showing it like that visually, can you see how you guys then come together? And often in most families, it's like this. We're not talking the same language. And that's why there's meltdowns and anger and anxiety and stuff like that. So you can learn how to say to your child, or you can start practicing this right now today. Honey, it sounds like you're feeling really angry. What do you need from me right now? And you could give them some suggestions. Do you need a cuddle? Do you need to come and lie on the bed with me? Do you need to get a glass of water and just sit with me? What do you need? Okay. Help your child work out how to problem solve for themselves. But this will take a little bit of time and practice if you haven't done it before. And here's my fifth one, and this is one of the most important ones. Physical touch. I wrote it on my post on the grid today. When you're talking to your child, this is what often happens with people when I'm coaching them. They will tell me, I had this conversation with my son, and he's shouting, and I'm trying to tell him, calm down, and I'm trying to validate his feelings, and I'm like, where were you stood, out of interest, when this was all going on? Tell me where your son or daughter was, and tell me where you were. And a lot of the time, this is what I hear. Well, I was washing the dishes. So I'm here washing the dishes and he's over there. Or I'm here making the bed and my child stood behind me. Or I'm just trying to do these things here and I'm walking past my child and I'm like, stop. That's the problem. You're not looking at them. There's no physical touch. Your words are saying, you're trying to get your words to say, I'm listening to you and I love you. But everything in your body language is saying, I'm busy. Just tap the hearts if you're like, oh, yes, I've never thought about that before. Everything in your body language is going, yeah, I can sort of hear you, but I've got stuff to do. And maybe you think, I feel like this all of the time in my relationship with my partner. Because we do this, it's so common. So how to do that differently is the next time your child is trying to tell you something, or they're bursting into tears, or they're throwing themselves around, stop and practice looking at them, look at them, and put your hands on their shoulder. I can't tell you what a loving act this is. When somebody does this to me, I wish I had someone else's hands to demonstrate this. Here we go. Pretend this is someone else's hands. I can't tell you how loved I feel when somebody goes like this to me, places their hands on my shoulders, looks me in the eyes, and just listens and says something like, I'm right here. You're feeling really angry right now, and I'm right here. Can you feel that? We need way more physical touch, way more emotional presence. And I get it, this stuff is new to a lot of people because it's not enough to read about this in a book. It turns out that we benefit way more when we actually experience this ourselves. So because I've experienced this, it's easier for me to then pass that on to other people. Because I didn't just read this in a book, I've actually experienced this. Which is why I created a way to share this with other women, so that they could come into a group environment with me and experience this, so they can feel how it feels to be heard themselves and listen to themselves like I described with my client 10 minutes ago, who burst into tears when I said to her, you're feeling really angry right now. Like right now, you're really angry. And she burst into tears. And the more that she experiences that understanding herself, she's going to be way better equipped to pass that on to her girls. Yeah, you don't really need to give advice a lot of the time, or some of the time. We're way too quick to give advice because that's how we've been raised ourselves. But we don't need advice a lot of the time. The first thing we always need is to feel loved. We need to feel heard. We need to feel like we're not judged. We need to feel accepted. We need somebody to connect with us, to place their hands on our, it doesn't have to be your shoulder, it could be your child's back. You could stroke their hair if they like it. I know not all children like that. One of my clients' children doesn't like that. So that's, find out what your child likes. But I want to wrap back up today with my question at the beginning of today's session. If you could never ever again say I love you to your child, what message would your behaviour and your body language be giving to your daughter or son today? And maybe you want to journal on that. Maybe write that question down and grab 5 minutes at some point later today, or right now while you're here, and think about that. If I never said I love you again, is my body language and my actions saying it for me? Because here's the truth, guys, we don't actually have to say I love you. I've learned this for myself in my life. We don't actually have to say I love you when 90% or 80% of the time we're doing our best to say I love you through our behaviour and our actions. And I love you is a brilliant thing to hear, but when it's said on its own, it's a bit like going to the ice cream man and just being given the sprinkles and not the ice cream. You're kind of like, oh, it's nice, but I know that there's something else that I need and you're not giving it to me. So let's just grab a couple of questions before we wrap up here. So I don't have a book. This information is in my some of this information, actually a lot of this information, is in my new audio program, How to Speak So Your Highly Sensitive Child Listens Without Shouting. In there, I'm coaching you how to speak differently, how to change your body language. I coached a woman in Australia about a month ago how to change her tone of voice. It was a really fun exercise, actually. How to actually just change the way that her voice sounds, how to change the way that her body was presenting, like how she stood in front of her child. And just by her changing that, she saw a shift in the way that their bedtime routine went, because she actually was communicating differently with her girls. So, if you're wanting to learn this stuff, the audio program would be your best bet. Right, I'm just going to spend 5 minutes pulling up these questions that you've posted, and then we will wrap up. Our 5-year-old is highly sensitive, I feel. He has started saying things that are very hurtful to us. I know this comes from a place of anxiety and overwhelm. It's so hard to hear and not be hurt. I really get that. This is something that comes up in my coaching group a lot with clients. So you're not on your own with this. Do you know the reason why it's hurting you? I don't know if you're still here live, but let me tell you, and for the benefit of everybody else, it's not about you. Your 5-year-old is hurting himself and he's trying to express how he feels to you. The reason it's hurting you is because it's triggering, it's tapping on your own emotional wounds. Every time your child says something that you feel is hurtful, he isn't trying to hurt you. He's trying to tell you about how he feels. He's talking about himself. But you're hearing, this is about me, and this is an attack on me. And it makes sense why you would feel that way, because you likely will have had many people in your life who have said hurtful things, and you've just got a little or a big emotional wound. It's a bit like walking around with sunburn, and when somebody comes along and taps the sunburn that you already have, it hurts. Does that answer your question? This isn't about your son doing something hurtful. This is about you already have some hurt inside, and he's just tapping on it. Tap the hearts if anybody else on this call just learnt something from that, because that's a real common thing. Yeah. So you say it's hard when he's being very aggressive. It's only hard. I mean, it's not pleasant. Like, it isn't pleasant when somebody's hitting you or shouting at you. But it's harder for you because of what I just described. It's triggering your own emotional wounds. Yeah, you don't need to be disciplining him. What you would want to do is go and heal some of your own emotional wounds, which I can help you with. This is what we do in my 6-month program. You want to go and find a way to feel heard and accepted yourself, as I described earlier, because the less of that stuff you have going on yourself, you'll be able to see your son more clearly. At the minute, you can't actually see your son clearly. Does that make sense? Every time he's aggressive, you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're feeling attacked and you can't see him. You actually can't. You're blinded. You're blinded by your own emotion. You can't see what's going on for him. So at the minute, and this goes for everybody, the truth is it's very difficult to be able to support a child in their emotion when you've got a lot of your own emotions going on. So this is why I coach parents to be able to heal a lot of their own stuff over a period of time, so that over a period of time, they can start to see their child more clearly. So there's stuff that you would want to do for yourself if you're in a place where that's right for you right now. Not everybody's ready to go there, and that's okay as well. I once read a quote which said, "Your undivided attention is the best gift you can give." Oh, totally agree. Totally agree. Hi Katie, any advice to communicate with my very beautiful, sensitive 2-year-old, bless her? I find I do come down and make eye contact. I feel like my words are lost on her. I love how you describe that, Katie, because they probably are. And here's why I say that, because we get too focused on the words around, we talk too much sometimes. Do you understand? We just talk too much. We're very wordy. And actually, what children, especially a beautiful, highly sensitive child, they can pick up on how you're feeling. So we can, find the best words in the world to say. Words are important. That's why I wrote an ebook with phrases in it. They are important, but they're not enough on their own. So probably your words are lost on your daughter. And actually, I feel like, without knowing anything more about you, and if this is something you want to explore more and understand how you could do this differently, excuse me, feel free to drop me a message after this in a couple of minutes and I can guide you with that. But I feel like my gut feeling says for you, I don't know whether you've had changes happen recently, just intuitively feel like maybe has there been a change for you happen recently? Is there some anger within you, or is there something going on for you right now without going into that too much here? If your child's highly sensitive, she's going to pick up on that. So it goes back to the stuff I was just talking about a moment ago. The work is actually about healing our own stuff. Sensitive kids just pick up on how we feel, and words just aren't enough. But good for you for the eye contact stuff. That's a great start. Hopefully that helped. If I can help you anymore, feel free to drop me a message. Hello, Elaine. You can get the audio. Go to the link at the top of this page. There is a link. Click the link, and it's the top tab. How to speak so your highly sensitive child listens. How to speak so your child actually wants to listen to you. There's a great story on that page when you click there that describes how I taught a woman in America to do this with her son. And he opened up to her about last year when he was bullied for 2 or 3 months at school. Oh my gosh, he just opened up to her on the sofa, all the stuff that was going on for him, because she learned how to speak to him in a different way. This is too important for us not to learn. That kid was feeling so angry, so on his own, and she just absolutely changed everything for him. Hey Julia, hey Sarah. Right, we're going to do 2 more minutes, then we're going to wrap up. Oh good, Katie. I'm glad that resonated. Yeah, happy to explore that more with you. How should we... So I'm just going to do this for the last one. Last one here. Is this topic useful, by the way? Can you let me know in the comments or tap the hearts? Hey, Michelle. Because if it is, that's good for me to know, and I'll come back and talk on this more. Has today been useful to you? How should we handle our son saying hurtful words about himself? How should we handle... Firstly, see it for what it is. It goes back to tip number... What was it? 1. Tip number 1. What's he really saying? He's really saying, I don't feel connected, I don't feel enough, I don't feel loved, I don't feel good enough. Hurtful words are just his way of saying all of that. How can you practice today and this week listening to what your son is really saying? Okay? And again, if you haven't got that audio course, Beck, highly recommend that you get that soon, because there's ways that you can change how you're speaking to your son so that you actually create an opportunity for him to feel accepted by you and connected to you. And you can be doing a lot to boost his self-esteem. And at the minute, understandably, it's not nice to hear your own son saying hurtful things about himself. But does it make sense that at the moment you're too focused on that? And if you shift gears to, okay, like he's saying some stuff, it's not nice to hear, but I need to shift gears now to go to the root cause, which is I need to boost his self-esteem. I need to help him see himself differently, and I need to help him feel differently. This is about helping kids feel differently, okay, through the way that we speak. Great, I'm glad it's useful, so I'll come and do more stuff on this topic again. Okay, hey Jade, thanks for joining us live. Hey Angela, thanks for joining us here live. Hope you're all going to have a wonderful day. If there's anything that I can help you with, feel free to drop me a DM. Otherwise, the reason that I created that 10-part audio program was to make your life easier so that you don't have to keep feeling so stressed when your child is feeling anxious or angry all of the time. I put it into a 2-part payment plan if that helps anybody as well. And I also created it because I know not everybody wants to have private coaching. I also don't always have the space in my group to take more people on. But I know some people just want to do this, put something in their ears and listen and go for a walk or listen while they wash up or wash the dishes. That's why I created it. So go and check that link out at the top of this page. And if you have a friend who is struggling at home, or if you have a sister or a brother yourself who is struggling with their kids, would you be willing to pass this information on to them as well? Let them know about this page here, or let them know about that audio program. Because I'm just passionate about getting this information out to as many people across the world as possible, and there's only one of me, so if I can recruit your help for 2 minutes to spread the word, I would be highly grateful on behalf of other children for that. Have a great day, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye.